are so ready to see, a transition, a peaceful transition in Venezuela. And we know that with the U.S. government, we're going to do that.
Venezuela is still a communist country. We are still under repression. Even though Maduro is out, we still have repression in there, so they cannot speak freely. I'm here to speak freely for them.
I truly hope that a transition starts taking place. People back home are very joyful, but they are, of course, still afraid.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. New Yorkers with ties to Venezuela are reacting to the ousting of their country's leader, Nicolás Maduro. As we've been telling you, Maduro pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking and other federal charges in lower Manhattan today. Now, with Maduro out, President Trump says that the United States will be, quote, running Venezuela for the foreseeable future until a transition of power can take place. This comes despite Delcy Rodriguez, who served as vice president to Maduro, being sworn in today as the interim president. Joining me now to talk about what all of this means for Venezuelans in New York and beyond is Jesús Aguais. He is the executive director and founder of Aid for AIDS International. He's a Venezuelan immigrant who helps newly arrived asylum seekers here in the city. He was also a member of Mayor Mamdani's transition committee, serving on the Committee on Immigrant Justice. Welcome to the program. Very good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Just to acquaint my viewers, your organization Aid for AIDS has been helping immigrant families here and in Venezuela since the 1990s, with a special focus on HIV testing, treatment, prevention programs. In recent years, though, you've had to sort of expand as all of the migrants arrive.
Absolutely. We expanded back in 2016 when we were supporting the Venezuelan humanitarian emergency, and we opened another nonprofit called Aid for Life. And Aid for Life is the one that expanded to beyond HIV care for immigrants across, at that point, Latin America. So we opened sites in Colombia, in Ecuador, in Peru, and when the migrants started arriving back in 2022, believe it or not, it's going to be 4 years, 70% of those arriving in New York City were the same people we were serving in Cucuta, Colombia.
Wow.
So we started providing, we call them jornadas. It's a whole day event to provide services, started with humanitarian aid, and now we very focus on the integration, not only Venezuelans, all of those that cross the Darien Gap, the jungle between Panama and Colombia, and we have supported over 40,000 asylum seekers in the past 3.5 years.
And one thing that a lot of New Yorkers, I think, might lose sight of is that there are tens of thousands of Venezuelans here, but they have no consular support. Like if you need a passport, if you need help with any of the normal things that you might as a foreign national, that's not available right now.
Absolutely, and that's why Venezuelan migrants are so vulnerable. For instance, in 2022, we were only 15,000 Venezuelans in the 5 boroughs. And about 130, 140,000 came. They don't have a diplomatic relationship with Venezuela, as you just said. If they die, they cannot go back. If they want to get a passport, they can't. And they don't have a sense of community because we didn't have enough host community to welcome them.
So now I know that putting aside the diplomatic and legal questions, there are probably complicated feelings about the ousting and the trial of Nicolás Maduro and Celia Flores. How are everyday Venezuelans interpreting all of this?
Venezuelans are thrilled that Maduro has been captured. Maduro is a criminal. They destroyed the country. They destroyed one of the richest countries in the hemisphere, and they are thrilled. But what they also are confused, because the Venezuelan dictatorship is not led just by one leader. I always said the Venezuelan dictatorship is a monster with 5 heads. And they took one head, and that head is Celia and Maduro. I put them as a one head, right? He had the title of president. But then we have Diosdado Cabello, which is the Minister of Interior, who is the one that controls all the people that persecutes the political people, whoever talks against the government. We have Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, that is the person that now Donald Trump is dealing with for a transition. It's very confusing. We have Jorge Rodriguez, who is Delcy Rodriguez's brother. He's the president of the National Assembly, which today they just swear in the new period of the National Assembly. And they have Padrino Lopez, who is the Minister of Defense. So those people are running Venezuela just like nothing happened. If anything, I talked to friends this morning, and I talked to my brother as well this morning, and they said, well, now people are afraid to speak up because they will get arrested. People are afraid to even send me a WhatsApp message. This is how we communicate. Not only my family, all Venezuelans in Venezuela. And also what they seen is what caused, they went to the supermarket and they removed all the pricing from all the products. So what cost $10 yesterday, today is $20. But hear me out. The minimum salary in Venezuela is $10 a month. That's why we have almost 9 million Venezuelans around the world. Colombia alone has almost 3 million Venezuelan migrants.
Yeah, so the crisis continues economically, certainly. Politically, it sounds like despite what the president might have said, what Donald Trump might have said, the Maduro regime is, minus him, is still in control of the country.
The Maduro regime is absolutely in control of the country. So now we heard President Trump saying that the U.S. is running the country. We don't know how it's running the country, and it's getting a lot of confusion around. And now the dismissing of the political leader, Maria Corina Machado, who could not run for the presidential election in July 28, 2024. And then she put Edmundo González Urrutia, who won the elections in 2024 by 70-30. And Donald Trump dismissed their leadership. And now he's saying that the transition is going to be with Delcy Rodriguez, which is, as we said, the appointed vice president by Nicolás Maduro, and solely focus on the oil of Venezuela and talk zero about democracy. So it is very confusing. And, you know, people talk about regime change in Venezuela. This is not regime change, right? Because Nicolás Maduro and his cronies kidnapped the country. This would be restoration of democracy if Edmundo González Urrutia would take his place as the legitimate president of Venezuela. But that doesn't seem this is what's happening right now.
For those who are here in New York, part of what really looks like a regional and even international refugee crisis, and so many have fled the country and don't seem to have a prospect for coming back anytime soon. What do you want the new Mamdani government here in New York City to do?
Well, what I would like is Mayor Mamdani is to hear out Venezuelans, because it has a lot of emotions. We can see it what happened today in front of the criminal court. There were two groups, Venezuelans cheering that Maduro is in prison, and then New Yorkers who don't understand the Venezuelan details of the crisis, saying that Maduro should go back to Venezuela. Maduro is a criminal. So I invite them to get to know Venezuelans and listen to them. Venezuela is not Libya. Venezuela is not Afghanistan. We don't want the U.S. government take over Venezuela, by the way, but that's not happening. I believe the rhetoric that President Trump is using is creating so much confusion and creating so much questioning of what really happened. So I want the city of New York and Mayor Mamdani to find a path to protect New Yorkers, Venezuelan New Yorkers, help them actually get into the integration process in a healthy way. They need protection, they need legal services. They are scared because now we also being the head of the anti-immigrant narrative of this Trump administration. Venezuelans became the worst of the worst, became all Tren de Aragua, TDA, and that's absolutely not true. You know that Venezuelans became the largest single nationality migration to New York City in over 120 years. We grew almost 800% in only 2 years, from 2022 to 2024. And in all large migration, in the whole history of New York and the world, criminals come along with it because immigrants don't have nationality.
Of course, of course. Well, listen, we are going to wish you the best of luck, and we'll continue to follow both the events overseas, but more importantly for us, what's happening with the communities here in New York. And we thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Okay.